We begin the show with some breaking news. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington has launched, quote, an attack on nuclear sites in Iran. Posting on social media, Trump said, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on the way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." That was President Donald Trump on Truth Social. He went on to say that Iran must now agree to end the conflict. He's due to address the nation in about an hour's time. We'll bring you that coverage of the speech. But for now, I'm joined by DW Washington correspondent Misha Komodovsky. Misha, thank you for being here. Now, Trump had said on Friday that he will decide on an Iran attack within the next 2 weeks, and now this has happened. Was this expected any earlier?
Well, as we know, at first, President Trump had been only hinting at U.S. involvement in the Middle East, some say at the risk of losing the element of surprise because he made it public. Now it did come as surprise, as President Trump had previously pledged to decide on Iran action within 2 weeks. And now we saw that he said on social media that the U.S. military carried out airstrikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, which marks the first direct American involvement in Israel's campaign to basically dismantle Iran's nuclear program. The move risks sparking a wider regional war as Iran has vowed to retaliate.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly. If they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to...
Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Raka Kwadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Akim. And this is your brother Abawan, back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Raka Kwadash. All praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. And this is, I'll just go straight right into it. Okay, the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter. Alright, so this is the book of Revelation 6 verse 3, and this is the inspiration for the title of this video, which is Behold the Red Horse. Revelation 6 verse 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard a second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Right. And that is speaking, of course, of Esau Edom, okay? Because he, just as the scriptures say at the origin of his birth, that he was red all over like a hairy garment. So the red horse represents Esau Edom, red, the color of blood and sin. And of course, the blessing of Esau Edom, which is the sword. After all, it's not written. Let's get that precept. And I believe that should be the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter. So this is the book of Genesis 27. This is the book of Genesis 27, verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right, so the blessing that our forefather Isaac gave to Esau was the sword, and that it would be through the use of that sword that he would be able to gain dominion and rule over the earth. And the reason why I'm going into this is because, as you can clearly see currently, right, what is trending on the news right now, once again, okay, because these things happen in cycles. The war between Israel and Iran that has been raging for decades now has escalated. Okay, this is not the start of a war between Israel and Iran. This is the continuation of the conflict, and it is simply escalating to the point where they are sending missiles at each other again. This is not the first time that Israel has sent missiles into Iran. This is not the first time that Iran has sent missiles back to the state of Israel. Okay, this is simply an escalation of that war. And in these last days and in the coming times, you will also see an escalation between the war between Russia and the US as well, because that is just simply the times that we are in. Okay, so don't be surprised they are seeing the threat of World War III constantly getting closer and closer. Was it not recently that the people were talking about how it was not recently how people are talking about how Israel will bring in World War III, right? The state of Israel will bring in World War III, right? You are hearing about how the state of Israel was fighting with the Houthis of Yemen, and now they have shifted to Iran, and that's now World War III is closer than ever, because now Israel wants to go into full-blown war with Iran and wants America, Babylon the Great, to support them. In fact, America, Babylon the Great, has already been supporting them, because what you find out was that during the nights when those missiles were going forth, that was last week, right? It was the US that was actually providing logistics and giving Israel the locations to bomb in order for them to destroy the nuclear scientists and the chief military officials in Iran. And now, Israel is escalating the war, claiming that Iran has weapons of mass destruction. Gee, where have we heard that before? And I find out again that, and of course I'm just mentioning these things because these are just news articles and information that I saw online. But you know how the internet is nowadays. If you see something a week ago and you don't save it, you probably never find it again, right? It was a meme about how for 30 years now, Bibi, right, has been constantly talking about how Iran is close to developing nuclear weapons, right? And that's basically what the state of Israel, right, is using as a mask for why they are sending missiles to Iran, because they believe that Iran is creating weapons of mass destruction in order to attack both Israel and the US. Right, so this is from an article from Al Jazeera Live. Iran says 400 more people killed in Israel strikes, and this is just really a backdrop that I want to use for this video, right? Just to get some more context into what's really going on between Israel and Iran, because there's a reason why I haven't done a video on it yet. I'm not really a guy that I'm a geopolitical guy, sure, but I'm really a guy that goes into military and breaks down these situations of war like that, except at a very basic level. I'm one of those brothers that don't really know how to break down the geopolitics of war too well, right? But really what I'm going into in this video is that you see who is starting the war, you see who is waging the war on the earth, and it is none other than Esau Edom, the so-called red man that is ruling over the earth. Because Esau, this is the same thing that Trump did in his first term, when he was talking about how the North Korean president Kim Jong-un, because he had weapons of mass destruction as well, nuclear weapons, Trump was antagonizing him, trying to get Korea to basically dismantle their nuclear weapons, with the fear and ever-present threat that they would eventually use those nuclear weapons against America, Babylon the Great. And it has been 8 years or so now, right, since Trump was in office last, and the weapons have still not been used. And that is because the only people on the planet that are even willing to use these kind of weapons are, of course, Esau Edom, the so-called red man. And that is where the pale horse comes in, because you see that the common denominator in all the wars and the rumors of wars that you see happening all over the earth is Esau. He is the one whose blessing is the sword. He is the one that has taken peace from the earth and caused it so every single day. Is a new war breaking out every single day. One nation is going to war against another nation, right? And looking like every single day nowadays that everybody is just trying to fight and get in conflict with each other. And that is because, Esau is ruling over the earth, and he was set up to take peace from the earth, because he is, like I said, that's because he is that pale horse. And this is just showing you that, hey, this pale horse is sent forth, and people are being killed by the sword, which is, of course, missile strikes. And we all know where the missiles that Israel is using to strike Iran comes from, right? It comes from America, Babylon the Great, and that is where you see Esau come in, even though the Amalekites are still Edomites, okay? So let's get that. Because the truth of the matter is that you have a lot of Babylonians that say they don't want to be involved with a war with Iran. But what they don't understand is that you are very much already in that war, okay? Because let's get that precept. You are very much already involved in that war, because all the weapons that Iran is using against Palestine or Gaza, against Iran, it's like all the weapons that Israel is using against Palestine, against Iran, and against their enemies are set up by America, are given to them by America, Babylon the Great, are given to them literally by US aid, right? US foreign aid, because Israel is the largest welfare state and the largest welfare recipient of American taxpayer dollars, okay? So you are already very much involved in the war, any wars that Israel fights, and America, Babylon the Great, will defend Israel's interests, right? So now, Jeremiah 50, and I'll start from verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Right, and basically what this means is that America, you are Americans, you are Babylonians, you are going to be forced into any war that Israel wants to force you into. And ultimately that war will be and lead to your destruction, right? Because as you know, America, Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed. So we are in the beginning stages of the process in which you will begin to see the nations begin to hate the whore. Because right now, the nations are beginning to, sour in their opinion of the state of Israel. And eventually, that will extend to America, Babylon the Great. Because while you will see, most likely, okay, and it could, because it could also not be the case, but while you will most likely see more and more of, European Edomite nations, right, begin to, reduce their support and pull back their support for the state of Israel, you will see America, Babylon the Great, 100% go full speed, put full effort and increase its support for the state of Israel, because as you already know, it's these small hearts that are ultimately going to drag you Babylonians into this war, right? World War III, the war with Iran and with Russia, and ultimately the war with our Lord Yahweh Shai, right? The war in heaven. That's what World War III is actually going to be. So what you see going on right now between America, Babylon the Great, Israel and Iran, this is just the beginning stages, okay? Now let's read into this article a little bit. Iran says more than 400 people have been killed and at least 3,000 others wounded since Israel launched its attack on June 13th. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says it would be very dangerous for everybody if the United States joins Israel's aggression. Right, because this is something that is still very possible, and it's something that is already happening, right? But of course, America, Babylon the Great, wants to play coy and say they are not, supporting Israel, right? Trump will say, "Oh, I'm giving it 2 weeks, right, before I actually, decide what I want to do in this Iran and Israel conflict." Meanwhile, it was the U.S. military, the military of Babylon the Great, that gave Israel the logistics to bomb those Iranian facilities, both the bombs and the directions in which to use and to launch those bombs, right? Those missiles, basically. So explain how America, Babylon the Great, has not yet joined. Is it because they're not sending troops on the ground yet? Is it because they're not deploying troops to the state of Israel to fight for it yet? Is that the involvement that you are speaking of? Meanwhile, they are already very much involved. Let's see if we can get some read more. I don't know why that closed. That's okay. What I wanted to get was some read more. Alright, let's see if we can get some read more. US President Donald Trump has publicly rebuked his director of intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, saying she was wrong to state there was no evidence Iran is building a nuclear weapon, right? Because it's just not true, right? Different people have already mentioned the fact that Iran actually, Iran has actually been investigated multiple times by the UN, and they found out that Iran doesn't have the uranium the uranium enrichment to create nuclear weapons, and the uranium is actually being used for, power supply, right? For energy supply, right? And being used for that's basically what it's being used for, and not actually building nuclear weapons. Okay. The International Atomic Energy Agency warns of danger from radiological and chemical contamination inside Iran's Natanz nuclear facility following Israeli attacks, but there is currently no change to radioactivity outside the site. Okay, so basically what you're seeing is that, this conflict, is looking like, oh, it's going to escalate. What is the US going to do? What is Israel going to do? What is Iran going to do? What is Russia going to do? What is China going to do? Because you have the BRICS alliance as well, right? But yeah, these are the things that are supposed to be happening on the earth. Okay, what you are seeing happening right now are things that are supposed to happen, because outside of the fact that, once again, going into Revelation, the 6th chapter, the red horse has been sent forth and peace has been taken away from the earth. Okay, you also have our Lord Yahushua prophesying of these things that you are seeing happening, because we still are very much in the beginning of sorrows. Matthew 24 verse 3, and as he sat down upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Yahushua said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And this is another example of that, all right? Another rumor of war, another actual war breaking out, but ultimately it won't lead to, a major global conflict, because it's a war. Don't get me wrong, it's actually a war. It's a conflict right now. It's a war between Israel and Iran, because bombs are being sent, people are dying, military is activated. So this is very much a war. But what the people are expecting is a global, conflict, right? Where you have Iran and its allies basically fighting against the state of Israel and its allies, and that's not going to happen yet, because we're not yet in the time in which all the armies of the world would be, basically gathered together, right? Or all the armies of the world will be basically deployed, in order to fight a conflict, right? Where the US and Russia will actively be involved in these kind of. We're not yet gotten to that point in, this whole thing yet, but this is still a major issue, because, like I said, Esau has been sent upon the earth, and he has been putting every his sword to every nation, and causing conflict and violence and bloodshed all over the earth, in every part of the world. That's why you see, like I said, so much conflict and violence and bloodshed all over the earth, including here in Nigeria as well, right? Like you recently saw, for example, and these are all these spam callers, right? These are all these spam people. You answer the phone and you won't get any reply from them. But like I said, you recently saw in Nigeria, for example, this Christian genocide that's going on, right, in Benue State. And and after looking into it a little bit, I just found out that more and more states are actually being attacked, but at a lower frequency than what happened in Benue State. So more parts of Nigeria are being invaded and attacked by these Fulani headsmen, and that's what's going on right now in Nigeria. Okay, So conflict is breaking out all over the earth because you have the red horse in power. So with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yawashai Ba'asham Rakal Kwadash Wa Abad Babal Shalom. And through the Spirit, I hope you are come and you are quite edified. Shalom.